What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Today is Monday, which means Monday Mail Day. Got some great questions, and let me try to jam through them. If I don't get to your questions, just make sure you ask again next week. And similar questions, I'll try to group them together and answer them all at once if I can to save time. First question is from the Fight Guru. Sup, Ego? Much respect for your channel. Keep up the solid work. Question: who should Brook face next to build his resume since no Khan fight? Also, what should Andre Ward do to build resume before because his future options seem limited because of opponent avoidance or promotional limitations? Peace. And there's another Andre Ward-esque question from Marcus Wicker. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Ward's next fight. Do you think a tune-up with a guy like Paraban on BET is a sound idea for a 31-year-old fighter with a gang of critics, or is he doing what he needs to do? Also, does this mean we won't get a chance to see him spank Froch again? Okay, so Fight Guru, first question, Brook. I think Brook, just anybody top 10. He's a champion. He already took care of his mandatory and Jojo Dan. So I'm okay with Brook fighting any top 10 welterweight. And I want to see him fight Khan if for whatever reason, like you said in your question, if that can't get done, it doesn't look like Khan is in a dire rush to make that fight. I would like to see Kell Brook and Keith Thurman is an excellent fight. Kell Brook versus Juan Manuel Marquez. If his knee is not bothering him and he's going to continue fighting, is a good fight just because he's a veteran. Even though I think Kell Brook may be too big for Marquez, it would be interesting to see a guy with some pop and a guy who's a veteran, a guy with counterpunching skills of Marquez. That would be an interesting fight. I would like to see, I don't know if I said Keith Thurman, Maidana, really any name like that, Floyd Mayweather, Pacquiao winner, any of those are great fights for Kell Brook. I just don't want to see him fight, you know what I mean, like Frankie Gavins and Bundus and people that aren't going to really increase his rep. He's kind of done that earlier in his career, so don't backtrack. The mandatory Jojo Dan, I had no problem with that because that's your mandatory. You got to take care of business. And as far as Andre Ward, you said to build his resume, I think he needs to take a realistic fight. The fact of the matter is Andre Ward has been out of the sport for a while. He's fought a lot less than other people who are a lot more active than him for different reasons. Legal troubles. He had shoulder surgery, and then he had rehab on that. Then the promotional stuff with Goosen, rest in peace. So I think he needs to fight a realistic fight. I wouldn't go immediately after Chavez Jr., Triple G. Not saying he can't beat those guys, but when you've been on a layoff, not everyone's like a Mayweather type fighter who can take a long layoff, even though he showed he could do that in the Edwin Rodriguez. He had a long layoff, came back and really handled business. But it's not advisable to do that, keep taking long layoffs and then just come back expecting to be the same without any ring rust. I remember Lamont Peterson versus Kendall Holt, even though he was able to get the stoppage, the first couple rounds looked like they were pretty tough for him. He looked ring rusty. So I think he should fight someone like a Paraban, as the Wicker said, Marcus Wicker in his question, a Paraban, George Groves esque tune-up type fight. And I say tune-up, not that these are bad fighters, but Paraban off a loss. Groves has been stopped by Froch before and stuff like that. So I believe Ward would be the favorite in both of those fights. And I hope we get to see a Carl Froch rematch if Carl Froch is going to continue fighting. I think those are all good fights. So that's really what I want to see. I want to see Ward come back properly, and I would say take a medium level competition. Don't just go after a Triple G or move up and fight Kovalev, Adonis Stevenson. Get your feet back wet, get back into the swing of things, and then go after those fights, the bigger fights like Anthony Durrell, the Gale winner, Andre Durrell, Kovalev if he wants to move up, those types of things. Next question, Boca the Smoker. Do you think things are being overcritical of Miguel Cotto? He won the title in June and now it's April. That's around 11 months from now. He doesn't have an opponent yet, but does plan on fighting Triple G in the future and is actually fighting at middleweight. People rarely bring up the fact that Floyd fought Canelo in September of 2013, and this is almost 2 years ago, and he hasn't done anything at 154 and doesn't even plan on fighting there, and they haven't stripped him of his belt. Whoa. Okay, so First of all, I don't like to get in the habit of comparing two people. I also said Floyd Mayweather, if he doesn't have plans to fight at 154, he shouldn't hold the belt hostage. I agree with that. They did technically classify his fight with Maidana in the rematch as a title defense. That belt was up for grabs. But, I mean, Cotto's Cotto. And the thing is, I think people are, quote unquote, being overcritical or being hard on him because they expect a lot out of him because he's a guy who spent his career not ducking people. So when you have perception is reality, straight up. So when you got a guy like Cotto who's had an illustrious career, deep resume, and it seems like he's being more of a diva, that's what people have problems with. So I think it's more so how he's acting about it. You know what I'm saying? Like Floyd is Floyd and Cotto is Cotto. I think the Cotto, his demeanor about it is seeming real diva like. You know what I'm saying? Versus a guy like Mayweather. Truth be told, Mayweather isn't really big. Like even his fights at 154, he doesn't come in weighing 160. That's not the same for Cotto. Cotto, his rehydration, even when he fought Floyd Mayweather, his rehydration was up there. And I'm not saying he's a big middleweight because I don't think he's a big middleweight, but I mean he's bigger than Floyd. He rehydrates more than Floyd in general. So I think people just hold Cotto to a high expectation, and the fact that he had an opportunity to not even fight a middleweight, but fight Canelo, which is, to me, that was the second fight behind Mayweather-Pacquiao that I wanted to see. You know what I mean? First it was Mayweather-Pacquiao, the #1 fight, and then it was Canelo-Cotto. That's me. And he passed up on that twice. Once before the Sergio Martinez fight, he passed it up to fight Sergio Martinez and set history. And then recently, again, he just didn't respond and give anything to Golden Boy or Canelo to go off. So they went another direction and fought. They're fighting Kirkland. So ultimately, I think it's his demeanor, how Cotto's stringing it along. Like, just say something. Say, like, okay, you got the Rock Nation sports deal. What's your next move? You know what I mean? So it's not even the fact of fighting a middleweight per se. So if you want to bring up Mayweather, Mayweather's fighting his contemporary at 147. Cotto, the names he's being linked to aren't the greatest at 154 or 160. That's the problem, I think. Cotto, they're talking about having him fight Sebastian Hyland, which nobody knows. Couple losses on his resume. They're talking about Cotto versus Daniel Gill. You know what I mean? So Mayweather, at the very least, he's fighting Pacquiao, who is considered the guy that can beat him. Miguel Cotto, if he were to fight Edeslandi Lara, Demetrius Andrade, those are 54 fights. I would give him nothing but credit because those are still good fights. But I don't want to see Cotto fight Hyland. K9 Bundridge is you know what I mean? Like that's not necessarily. Demetrius Andrade is tall, you know what I mean, versus K9 Bundridge. He does it, other than being a champion, doesn't really bring stylistically as much to the table. Brand-wise, not as big of a brand or as well known as Laura Demetrius Andrade. So it's a variety of different reasons people are being overcritical or hard on Cotto, in my opinion. Next question is Vontae123. Ego, great videos, love watching every week. But who would you consider as a fighter a more lethal opponent, Triple G or Kovalev? Very hard question because I rate both of those guys and I like both of them and I've told people about both of them. I would say, that's a tough question. I don't really have a firm answer, but I would say maybe Kovalev, just based solely on the fact there's things that I think Triple G does better than Kovalev, but I would say Kovalev has done more and he has a more impressive division. 175, you got guys like Adonis Stevenson, who seems to be not anxious to fight Kovalev. He beat up on Bernard Hopkins, a crafty veteran. So I would say at the moment, maybe slight edge to Kovalev, just because even though Triple G's seeking those fights, he hasn't been in there with the Bernard Hopkins of his division, period. You know what I mean? Willie Monroe's not that. Like Daniel Gill. There's no one that he's been in there with that I would rank like I rank Jean Pascal at 175 or Bernard Hopkins at 175, or even Undefeated Cleverly is comparable to, I would say, Daniel Gill or whatever. So I would say they're both lethal, but Kovalev has a real mean streak. It's very close, but that's a question almost has me stumped. So they're both great fighters. I would say Kovalev maybe slightly just really based off the fact that his division I think is stacked a bit more. Next question is from Monty Gordon. Hey Ego, how do you feel about Tim Bradley moving up to junior middleweight when he hasn't done much at 147? I don't really like the move, and I like Timothy Bradley a lot. Desert Storm. I just think ultimately we're getting into an era of boxing where boxing is a business, so financially certain things make sense. So careers get rushed. I think Tim Bradley moved up from 140 to 147, and then now he's talking about moving up to 54. And I get it. He's machismo and he has heart. He has a chin. He showed you that in the Ruslan fight. But doesn't pack much punch. He gets away with just his brain and boxing ability, athleticism, heart, chin, stuff like that. I just don't really see what is the point of him moving up. I think there's still good fights for him at 147. So to me, moving up to 54 just doesn't. I mean, your last fight was against Diego Chavez and it ended in a draw. I've seen Timothy Bradley win, but on paper it's a draw. So I would maybe clear that up. Fight Amir Khan is a good fight. Marcos Maidana, Brandon Rios. There's just a lot of names at 147. Kell Brook, if he wants a fight like that. Keith Thurman. These are all great fights, and I think his chances of winning against 147 pounders is greater than moving up to 54. Like, okay, let's say he beats K9 Bundreds. Can he beat Demetrius Andrade? Can he beat Edislandi Laura at 54? It's just his stature and everything. I don't think that's really the right division for him. Lacks punching power. He's short. He's shorter than Pacquiao, I believe. So I don't think that's ultimately a good fit. But I mean, if he wants to try it, it's all good. Cotto did it and surprised me with Sergio Martinez, how he pounded him. Next question is from my ninja Jabril. Ego, what do you think is harder mentally for a fighter, to fight someone you like or fight someone you hate? Now, for that question, I think it really ultimately depends on the fighter. Both can be very hard. One, if you're fighting someone that you hate, you could come out with a wrong game plan. I think Anthony Durrell versus Sakio Bika 2 was an example of that. Those guys generally didn't like each other, and I think Durrell has more skill. Anthony Durrell has more skill than what he showed in those early rounds. But he was fighting, like if you watch, I think from the opening bell, round 1, he came out and tried to take Bika's head off. And the fight early on was very sloppy. And I personally think Anthony Durrell is better than that. But when you involve your emotions and don't know how to contain that, you know what I mean? He's a dude from Flint, and both have been talking, and they had a first fight and stuff like that, bad blood. I think he came out kind of with the wrong game plan. You know what I mean? So the same could be said for when you like somebody. So it really depends on the fighter. Deontay Wilder and Malik Scott, they're friends outside, and then their fight ended controversially. So who knows what the situation is? Some people say Malik took a dive. Some people said Deontay didn't really want to hurt him. So I think it really ultimately depends on the fighter and how they take it, but both can be extremely hard. Next question is from Tom M. Why do you blur usernames but then say them on the Q&A videos? Interesting question. The reason I do it is because I've been on YouTube long enough, so I know the rules and the parameters to keep my account safe. And if you look in the community guidelines, you're not supposed to show other YouTube users' usernames in your videos. There's something, I don't know if it's anti-bullying, I don't know exactly what, but it says, it spells it out in the community guidelines. So I blur them out because that's per the YouTube guidelines. Like, you're not allowed to have copyrighted material in your videos, and different things like that can negatively affect your account. You can get strikes on your account and that kind of thing. So I'm keeping my account safe because I know the different rules to abide by with YouTube. So there's nothing that says you can't say a name. It just says you're not supposed to actually show somebody's username. So that's the reason I do it in the video. And actually, if it wasn't a rule, I wouldn't do it because it takes a little bit more time to do, you know what I mean, to go through the time. I mean, it's nothing. All work is easy work. But to answer your question, that's why. Next question is from Big Boss Master 123. What is your opinion on BKB? Now, this was the first one that I really watched. I had seen like clips of Vera and Rosado, but this is the one I actually ordered it and watched like multiple fights. I wasn't too impressed. Like, you know what I mean? I'm still boxing. Like, it's not the type of sport, at least in this early stages, where I would watch it and I'm like, damn, this is killing boxing. They do some things good. The setup and colors and lighting and stuff look cool, but there's certain things that I didn't like. I didn't like the decision of Stevens Rosado. I thought that was like a cheap way to kind of extend it and possibly set up a rematch or whatever, because BKB is just getting started. So why not have some controversy instead of Stevens, who I thought won? Other thing I really didn't like was in the pit. It's like it's all up to the referee's discretion. Like, people, there's a thing called gravity. So if someone's like leaning over you and like pushes you down basically, and you're naturally going to fall back onto the blacktop of the pit. And some referees were ruling that a knockdown. So I'm like, how the fuck is that a knockdown? Like, he literally fell because somebody was putting their weight on him, and that's what's going to happen because of this thing called gravity. So I don't think, since it's new, I don't think that they have all the rules intact, like a firm grip of what's going on. Like, how is that a knockdown? You know what I'm saying? When I think of a knockdown, I think you have no other choice but to go down because someone slept you or hit you with the shot. So they definitely, in my opinion, have some bugs that they need to work out. And that was probably the biggest things that I didn't like. But there's room for improvement. They're getting some like boxing faces involved. It just, to me, wasn't as exciting. Like Jesus Soto Caras, there was no knockout in that fight. And also in the Curtis Stevens and Gabe Rosado main event, there was no knockout in that fight. So I'm like, when they say BK big knockout, I'm expecting something crazy different. And it really wasn't what I expected. Like, I'm not hating, I'm not shitting on it. Maybe it'll improve or whatever. But if you label it big knockout boxing and say it's so much different and there's no room to run, that's what people expect. Some old like Roman gladiator shit. And that's not always what you get. And to me, the last thing I'll say is I'm a fan of skill. I like skill. When somebody has skill with power, that's awesome. You know what I'm saying? When they mix it up. So I would, instead of like rock'em sock'em robots, that's cool, but that doesn't impress me. Yeah, it's action packed. You want to drink a beer, or chill out and watch that. But I'm more impressed with skill mixed with power as opposed to anything else. And then some of the fights I've seen, I'm like, damn, a traditional boxer in that weight class would really school this person in a regular boxing. It's just like it's almost primitive, you know what I'm saying? But like I said, maybe it'll get better. I'm not opposed to it. I might check it out, their future cards and stuff like that. But I just expected something a little bit different. Next question is from Hassler Trevino. Ego, I gotta say, I love the channel. Respect what you do. Honestly, the best, most real boxing channel on YouTube. Thank you. How do you feel about a Mayweather versus Lara fight? Who is faster? Who is more slick? Who would win? And do you honestly think it would sell to the mainstream fans? Myself, as a boxing purist, would love to see it. What do you think about the matchup? Now, those are some good questions. Me personally, Ego, I like the matchup just because it's, like I said in the last question, I like skill. Skill versus skill. Mayweather, some people say he has problems with southpaws. Lara's a southpaw. Lara's bigger than Mayweather. Lara is very creative with his left hand. Mayweather's very good with his right hand. So ultimately, a crafty guy, a crafty southpaw versus, you know what I mean, the pound for pound number one dude. So hypothetically, if Mayweather got past a guy like Pacquiao, then I wouldn't mind seeing that fight. In all honesty, I don't think that fight would happen, just because, kind of in your other questions, I don't think it would sell to mainstream fans. I don't think it'll be a fight that people are craving. And there's a lot of fights like that. There are a lot of fights that I can imagine up and I think are great fights. I just ultimately don't see them happening. You know what I'm saying? Like, you look at Lara, he's a guy with the draw with Vanes Matarosen, the Carlos Molina victory or whatever was that fight was suspect. People didn't like. There's a controversial loss, which I did think he beat Paul Williams. Canelo allegedly beat him, stuff like that. So he has some blemishes on his record for a variety of different reasons. So I really think Mayweather's kind of at a point in his career, he wouldn't probably take a fight that doesn't make business sense as well as an entertaining fight. So I just don't see the fight happening. I don't have a problem with it if it were to happen, just because I think Lara is a very skilled fighter and he's very slick. I would say Canelo versus Lara showed that Mayweather is slicker, in my opinion, because Canelo had no answers for Mayweather versus when he fought Lara. He was getting off, ripping to the body, cutting the distance, and Canelo needs to, if Canelo had the ability to cut off the ring like Triple G, then that fight could have been a lot different. But he didn't. He's not really a master at cutting off the ring at his current age. But Mayweather was like elusive and avoiding shots, but also staying in pocket, and Canelo still couldn't do anything with him. So I would say Mayweather is slicker. It's a good fight. I just ultimately don't see the fight happening. And the last question is from the Diesel. Who do you want to see Deontay Wilder face next? Does he have the tools to remain undefeated for years to come? Second part of your question, very hard to answer because people want to see him step up. He did step up against Bermane Stiverne. Stiverne looked very stiff. Didn't look like the Stiverne versus Areola. But you can't take away credit from Deontay Wilder. Me personally, Wilder versus Tyson Fury makes all the sense in the world. That's the fight that I want to see because this is your first title defense. Your WBC champion. I don't want to see Deontay Wilder immediately go up and face Klitschko. I do want to see that fight, but I think it's only fair. You take a fight that was a 50-50 fight like Stiverne, and you have your first title defense. I don't think you should have to immediately go up against the person that's been dominant for 10, 11 years or whatever. So if they made the Klitschko fight, I'm not going to complain. I'll certainly support and watch it. But me personally, I think Tyson Fury is a fight they can get out of the way, and it's a good title defense. They're both Goliath and giant men, and they both have some power. So it's a good fight, and I know it'll sell because you got two different demographics. You got the UK demographic as well as the States demographic. They're both talkers and showmen. Tyson Fury sings, and Deontay Wilder's like dancing and joking, and they both could talk. So I think I like the build-up. And if in the event, because I would favor Klitschko to beat Deontay Wilder, probably that's a good fight, and I'll break it down if that fight does come into fruition after Jennings. But I mean that's a close fight. There's some different ways to look at it, but either way, it's hard to go against Klitschko. So our favorite Klitschko. So I don't want to see that fight possibly ruined, Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder, by jumping the gun too soon to go after him. I think he should continue building and going up against another big man like Tyson Fury, and then fight Klitschko if he can get past, or the winner of that fight Klitschko. That's what I like. So Tyson Fury next for Deontay Wilder. That's my honest opinion. Let me know how you think I did this episode. I'll try to get to a lot of questions. If I did not get to your question, ask next week. So let me know what you guys think and give your responses to the questions provided. Drop me a comment. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video, it's Ego signing off.